Why I avoid people at 70. The peace I found in solitude. Turning 70 wasn't the milestone I expected it to be. It was something much bigger. It wasn't the gray hair, the aching joints, or even the shifting priorities that caught me by surprise. It was the realization that I no longer had room in my life for noise. I began to avoid people, not because I stopped caring, but because I started protecting my peace. Drama, shallow conversations, endless obligations. They're not worth the precious time I have left. I didn't plan this shift. It came to me naturally, like the first signs of autumn, subtle but undeniable. If you've ever felt like walking away from the crowd to reclaim your time and energy, you'll understand. If you haven't, let me show you why solitude can be one of life's greatest gifts. If you enjoy this video, please like and comment the number 2 to show your love. If it doesn't resonate, leave a heart and comment the number 7, and we'll work harder to create better content for you. Don't forget to subscribe to After 7080 to explore more stories that help you live with purpose. Let me take you on this journey of why I stepped away from the world, not out of bitterness, but to find something far more meaningful. Time, the most precious gift. Have you ever stopped to think about how you're spending your time? For most of my life, I didn't. Time felt infinite, like a bottomless well I could draw from endlessly. I wasted hours on small talk, relationships that went nowhere, and commitments that drained me. But at 70, I see time for what it really is, the most precious gift we have. These days, I no longer let my hours slip through my fingers. Mornings are my favorite. I sit by the window with my coffee, watching the sunlight slowly creep across the room. It's in those quiet moments that I feel most alive. I take walks in the afternoon, not to get somewhere, but to feel the earth beneath my feet and savor the fresh air. Evenings are for reflection, sitting in my favorite chair, letting my thoughts wander over memories that feel like old friends. What I've learned is that time isn't just a measurement, it's a mirror. It reflects the life we've lived and the choices we've made. And when you stop chasing it, when you learn to simply sit with it, time becomes a companion, not an enemy. Here's something I've asked myself, and maybe you should too. Are you spending your time on what truly matters, or are you letting it slip away on things that leave you feeling empty? Let me know in the comments below. And here's another thought to consider. What if today was your last ordinary day? How would you spend it? What would you spend it? What would you change? Let's talk about it. Share your thoughts. Your time is precious, and so are your insights. Relationships, quality over quantity. For much of my life, I believed that relationships were the foundation of happiness. The more people you knew, the more events you attended, the fuller your life seemed. I was the one who remembered every birthday, showed up at every gathering, and tried to be everything, to everyone. But as the years passed, I realized something. Quantity doesn't equal quality. At 70, my relationships have changed, and so have I. Some connections have faded, not out of anger or conflict, but because life naturally moves people in different directions. Others, I had to let go of intentionally. Relationships that drained my energy, brought unnecessary drama, or felt one-sided. It took me years to understand that it's not selfish to protect your well-being. It's necessary. Now, I focus on fewer, deeper connections. I choose time with people who truly see me, who understand my heart without me needing to explain myself. I've learned to treasure the quiet moments, a heartfelt conversation with a close friend, a walk with someone who shares my pace. These are the relationships that fill me, not empty me. And yes, there's a bittersweet nostalgia for those I've lost along the way. Friends who once felt like family, family members whose paths diverged from mine. But instead of holding on to regret, I choose gratitude for the moments we shared. Some people are meant to be in your life for a reason, others for a season, and a few for a lifetime. Recognizing the difference has brought me peace. So let me ask you this. Do your relationships lift you up, or do they weigh you down? What would happen if you let go of the ones that no longer serve you? It's a hard question, but one worth asking. Share your thoughts. I'd love to hear what you think. Trust. A delicate balance. Trust. Such a simple word, yet so fragile. When I was younger, I trusted easily. Too easily. I believed in the goodness of people, in their words, their promises, their intentions. But life has a way of teaching us hard lessons, and trust, once broken, isn't easily mended. Over the years, I've experienced betrayals that left scars. A friend who cared more about what I could do for them than who I was. A business partner who put profit above integrity. Even family members whose distance spoke louder than words. Each experience chipped away at the carefree trust I once gave so freely. Now, at 70, trust feels different. It's no longer a blanket I throw over everyone I meet. It's a gate. A sturdy gate that opens for those who have earned it, but stays closed to those who haven't. And while it may seem like a cautious way to live, it's not rooted in bitterness. It's rooted in wisdom. But here's the thing about trust. It's not just about others. It's about trusting yourself. Trusting your instincts when something doesn't feel right. Trusting your strength to walk away from toxic people, no matter how long they've been in your life. Trusting that it's okay to protect your heart, even if it means disappointing someone else. And yet, trust hasn't completely disappeared from my life. Small, unexpected moments restore my faith. A stranger offering kindness, a neighbor checking in during a storm, a friend showing up without being asked. These are the moments that remind me trust is still possible, even if it's more selective now. So let me ask you, who do you trust and why? Have you learned to set boundaries, or do you still find yourself giving too much? Trust is a delicate balance, but finding that balance is worth the effort. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your experiences below. The world has changed, and so have I. The world I grew up in feels like a distant memory, a place where connections were simpler, slower, and more genuine. Neighbors knew each other's names, families gathered without needing a reason, and people made time to be present, not just physically, but emotionally. Back then, a conversation wasn't rushed. It had space to breathe, to linger. Today, the pace of life feels relentless. Everyone seems to be running towards something. Success, recognition, or simply staying afloat. Technology, for all its benefits, has added to the noise. Yes, I'm grateful for video calls that let me see my grandchildren's faces and social media that keeps me updated on friends I no longer live near. But let's be honest. A text message will never replace a hug, and a like on a photo will never feel as warm as someone sitting across from you, truly listening. It's not just the tools we use to connect that have changed, but the way we value connection itself. Relationships can feel transactional, rushed, or stretched thin by the demands of modern life. Even within families, the bond sometimes feels less like a tether and more like a thread. Fragile, stretched by distance, both physical and emotional. But I've made peace with these changes. Instead of trying to keep up with a world that moves faster than I want to, I've chosen to step back. I've turned off the notifications, silenced the endless updates, and focused on what's real and present. There's something deeply freeing about reclaiming your time and attention from a world that constantly demands it. Here's a question I ask myself often. How much of my life am I living for me? And how much am I living to meet the expectations of others? Or worse, the expectations of a society that doesn't even notice me? It's a sobering thought, but it's also liberating. And now, I ask you, how has the world changed for you? Do you feel more connected or more isolated in today's fast-paced, tech-driven world? I'd love to hear your perspective. Your insights could be a light for someone else walking a similar path. Share your thoughts below. Solitude, a source of strength, not loneliness. There was a time when being alone felt unbearable. In my younger years, solitude was something to avoid. A reminder of emptiness, a signal that I wasn't wanted or needed. Back then, I filled every moment with people, noise, and activities, believing that being surrounded by others was the only way to feel complete. But now, at 70, I've come to see solitude differently. It's not a void to escape. It's a space to cherish. Solitude has become my sanctuary, a place where I can reconnect with myself, reflect on the life I've lived, and simply be. It's in the quiet moments, sitting by the window with a cup of tea or watching the sunrise in stillness, that I find a peace no crowded room could ever bring. Here's what I've learned. There's a profound difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is a longing for connection that feels just out of reach. Solitude, on the other hand, is a fullness. A quiet contentment in being with yourself. It's not about cutting people out. It's about choosing to spend time with the one person you'll always have, yourself. Solitude has also taught me the power of saying no. No to obligations that drain me. No to relationships that take more than they give. And no to the relentless pressure to be everything to everyone. By stepping away from the noise, I've created space for what truly matters. My health, my passions, and the people who bring light into my life. And here's the surprising part. The more I've embraced solitude, the more I've appreciated the connections I still have. When I do spend time with others, it feels intentional, meaningful, and full. I'm present in a way I never was before, savoring every word, every laugh, every shared moment. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you truly enjoyed your own company? Have you embraced solitude, or does it still feel like something to fear? Take a moment to reflect and share your thoughts. You might just discover that solitude isn't a sign of loneliness. It's a sign of strength. I'd love to hear your perspective in the comments below. Does this sound familiar? As I've shared my story, I wonder, am I alone in this, or does time naturally lead us to this place? A place where the noise of the world fades and the value of simplicity becomes crystal clear. Do disappointments and betrayals eventually teach all of us to guard our hearts more closely? Does the weight of experience push us to prioritize peace above all else? Looking back, I see how much of my younger life was spent trying to meet the expectations of others. I wanted to be the dependable friend, the perfect family member, the person everyone could rely on. And while those intentions came from a place of love, they often left me depleted. The truth is, when you try to be everything for everyone, you lose yourself along the way. Now, I've stopped apologizing for protecting my energy. I've stopped feeling guilty for choosing solitude over socializing. And I've stopped asking myself if there's something wrong with me for needing space to breathe, reflect, and just be. At this stage of life, I see those choices not as selfish, but as necessary. Perhaps you found yourself in a similar place. Maybe you've started letting go of relationships that no longer nurture you, or you've begun saying no to obligations that leave you feeling drained. Maybe you've noticed a shift in how you value your time. Choosing quality over quantity, depth over breadth. It's not an easy transition. It can feel like letting go of pieces of yourself, pieces of the life you thought you were meant to live. But this stage of life isn't about loss. It's about rediscovery. It's about creating space for joy, for meaning, and for the things that truly matter. So, I ask you, does any of this resonate with you? Have you felt this shift in your own life? If so, how have you embraced it? Or are you still learning to? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your journey might just inspire someone else to take that first step toward living more intentionally. At 70, I no longer see life as a series of endings, but as a series of beginnings. Each chapter has its own lessons, challenges, and beauty. This stage of my journey feels quieter, yes, but also richer, more intentional, and more authentic than any that came before it. When I was younger, life felt like a race. There was always somewhere to be, something to prove, someone to impress. I lived with a constant sense of urgency, driven by the belief that the future held endless possibilities. But now, I've learned that the best moments are not in the future. They're here, in the present. Life isn't about what's next, it's about what's now. This chapter is about simplicity. It's about savoring the little things. The way sunlight filters through the window in the morning, the sound of laughter from a loved one, the warmth of a favorite blanket on a cool evening. These small, ordinary moments have become the foundation of my days. They're the ones I treasure most. It's also a time for reflection. I often find myself looking back, not with regret, but with gratitude. There were triumphs that lifted me, mistakes that shaped me, and heartbreaks that taught me resilience. Every experience, whether joyous or painful, has woven the fabric of my life. And yet, this chapter isn't just about looking back. It's about looking forward too. There's still time to create, to learn, and to grow, and I embrace that with a quiet excitement. The freedom that comes with this stage of life is one of its greatest gifts. I no longer feel the need to meet anyone's expectations, not even my own. I've let go of the need to achieve, to prove, to please. Instead, I focus on simply being. And in doing so, I found a peace I never knew was possible. I've also learned to say no. No to obligations that drain me. No to relationships that no longer align with who I am. No to the pressure to be everything to everyone. Saying no has created space in my life. Space for peace, for joy, and for what truly matters. There's a kind of courage that comes with aging, a willingness to live unapologetically, to prioritize your well-being without guilt, to speak your truth without fear of judgment. At 70, I've earned the right to live life on my own terms, and I embrace that fully. So here's my question for you. How do you see this chapter of your life? Is it a time of endings, or have you found your own new beginnings? Share your perspective. I'd love to hear how you're navigating this beautiful, complex, and deeply personal stage of life. Your story is a gift, and sharing it might just help someone else embrace their journey too. If you found this video meaningful, give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to After 7080 for more heartfelt stories, deep reflections, and insights that celebrate every stage of life. Together, let's create a space where we can inspire and uplift one another as we continue our journeys. See you in the next video.